point, you guys attempted to rob a place called Bertha's, which was a large furniture, jewelry store type of operation in Las Vegas?
Yes.
And this is where you guys got arrested and you had problems, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whose idea was it to rob Bertha's?
Mine.
Originally it was yours?
Well, no, it was this other guy, Joey. Joey DiFranzo. When I first moved to town, he showed me the place. He said, this place got $1 million in there. So I looked at it, and he said, maybe we could go through the side wall. I said, they'll be able to see it from the main street. So I went inside, checked out the place, and found out that there was no alarms in the vault, but there was motion detectors outside of it, you know. And anyway, Joey and I had a falling out, and Joey was doing something wrong in town, so we ran him out of town. So the score went by the wayside, you know.
I
We just
see.
sort of like forgot about it. And then as the years passed, or the year passed, or 2 years, we were getting a lot of heat, getting a lot of raps, you know. We were indicted for everything. So money was sort of running thin. So I figured there's $1 million score. We were told that this guy had cash in there, you know, a lot of cash. It was a family-owned and operated business with a lot of antiques too. So I put a crew together, and we were going to come through the roof right into the vault. And one of my associates invited this guy, Sal Ramano, whom I never trusted, whom was good shutting off alarms.
Well, he was an alarm guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we didn't need him.
Right, because you were bypassing
We could have
anyway.
did it ourselves.
Right.
It was a direct, you know. I mean, what's the sense of going through all of that when you could go right through the roof?
Right.
So this jerk invited this guy in on it, which he should have never done. And when he told me about it, I was very upset because we had like 30 days left before we were going to do the robbery. So then I told little Tony what the case, and he said, you don't know that for sure. I said, a couple of cops from Chicago just came out here a month ago and told me the guy was no good. They busted him at the airport with a load of furs, and he hasn't even been indicted for it. It disappeared, the rap. I says, the guy's got to be bad. No, do you believe them cops? This is Tony.
So you didn't want to do it at that
No,
point?
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it up to the day we done it. But he thought that if we kept our eye on Sal the whole while, we were going to do it. We had to kill him right after the score if that was the case, right?
Right.
So why take him along? Why didn't you just dump him right from the beginning?
Right.
But he said, just take him with you. I said, okay. And that's what happened.
So you guys decide to rob Bertha's. You go there at night, correct?
Yeah,
And you enter.
we started out, it was a little light.
Yeah.
It took a lot of hours to prepare to
I
get
would
there.
imagine so, yeah.
A lot of equipment.
And you decided to cut a hole in the roof.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went up the back of the building somewhere where it was...
I didn't go up there. My crew went up there.
Okay. Now, what did they use to cut this big hole in the roof? Was it
You could
saws
use
or something?
anything. No, you could use drills, you could use saws, you could use chisels. And you're just punching a hole in wood that's up there, plywood,
I see.
and some tar paper and stuff like that. But when they get to the vault, if the vault had a steel top, we had acetylene tanks up there, torches. We'd cut a hole in there, so that was
I
brought
see.
along just in case.
I see.
But as it was, it didn't have that.
Now, unbeknownst to you at the time, I would imagine this Sal Ramano, or whoever, I would imagine he leaked this thing to the officials, the authorities. The FBI and the Metro Police were waiting for you. Is this correct?
Yeah, you need to ask them about it.
Well, that's where Dennis Arnoldy comes in. Dennis, you were one of the FBI special agents at Bertha's robbery. Where were you at? Tell us a little bit about what happened that night and how instrumental you were and how what you were doing took place.
Well, I was part of the arrest team that actually went up on the roof that night. It was 2 Metropolitan Police Department officers and 2 FBI agents. We knew there would be people on the roof, 3 people that were going to go into Bertha's through the roof. We also knew that they were going to have a counter surveillance on us, 3 cars, I believe, and they were going to be looking to find out, make sure that the police weren't watching them. So we had agents and Metropolitan Police officers following the cars, And there was another car, a van that was parked across the street in a shopping center that the Frank and his crew were using to monitor police and FBI radios. We knew that was going to happen, so of course we changed all the frequencies. We were on different frequencies than they had anticipated. Myself, the other FBI agent, and the 2 Metropolitan Police officers climbed up the back of the building. Bertha's is actually, there was about 3 different office buildings.
It kind of goes like down,
Right.
like one building to the next, doesn't it?
It was stair-stepped all the way to the back.
Yeah.
We entered, we climbed up the back and climbed up every level. Also at the same time, FBI supervisors and technical agents were monitoring the roof and the burglary from another building nearby where they could look down onto the burglary. They could actually see what was going on. Those of us in the arrest team really didn't know what was going on because we couldn't see.
I see.
And then we were up on the roof. Once it got dark, we went up there. And this was on July 4th, of course, so there's a lot of fireworks going on, a lot of people out.
And it's warm that time of year. Las Vegas at night in July is what, 98 to 100 degrees? So.
Yeah, it was warm,
Yeah.
believe me. And of course, we were all fitted out in gear and,
yeah.
vest and that type of
Now,
thing.
didn't one of your guys actually pass out or have a problem with heat? Or
That was one of our surveillance team members. Our surveillance team, along with Metro, had placed a surveillance on the area all day long during the hot Las Vegas summer day. And one of the fellows there got quite ill and had to be hospitalized. There was no air conditioning in the cars. They couldn't turn the air conditioning on. They couldn't run the car.
right.
And even some of the burglars were leaning against our car for a little while and talking about it before they went up on the roof. So it was quite a situation for our surveillance guys.
How many total agents and police do you think were there at that point?
Well, it'd be well over 20. I can't recall.
Yeah,
Probably over
approximately, of
30.
course,
It was
yeah.
a lot
So
because
the whole area was covered totally.
so.
I mean, nobody was going anywhere.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And we had at least an agent and a police officer on each one of the surveillance, counter surveillance vehicles that they had. We had an agent and a police officer watching the radio car, and then we just had agents and policemen in the area to assist when we took the burglars down.
Now, you told me something I thought was kind of funny. They cut a hole, and that took a long time, you said, right? But
Yes.
then they missed or something, or it was in the wrong place?
Right. We
or
were
something?
told that they had missed the area where they were going to go into the roof.
Yeah.
And we did not want to initiate the arrest until someone had actually entered the building to complete the elements of the crime of burglary.
Otherwise, it's what, just destroying property,
Yeah,
right?
probably, I don't know, but conspiracy probably at the worst.
Right.
And so that we were told to wait. They were going to move to another place. I guess they could watch them as they moved to another place.
Right.
And they went through the roof again. And then when one of the burglars actually stepped through the hole, top of the vault, is when we got the go-ahead and make the arrest.
Right.
And it was that time we moved forward from the rear and arrested.
Had they
three-
penetrated the vault or gotten anything done?
No.
Basically, just as they got into the roof.
All right. The burglary was completed. At
And
that
how
time.
many guys were on the roof arresting people? Just you and a couple
There were
others?
4 of us.
4 of you?
The 2 FBI agents and the 2 Metropolitan Police Department officers. And there was only 3 burglars, so we certainly had the advantage of manpower, and they were not armed. They were smart enough not to be.
So it wasn't
carrying-
armed robbery at that point.
Well, it was a burglary.
Right,
and,
that's what I'm saying. Exactly.
And a couple of them had felony convictions, and that would have just made it a lot worse. for them.
Right.
They were smart enough not to
Right.
know that.
Right. So where were you at, Frank, at this point, if you weren't on the roof?
I was in a car. We had 2 different type radios. We were working with CBs and regular police radios. And we used the CBs because we knew that they wouldn't be on that channel at all if they were onto us. And we also had these scramblers. We figured sometimes they scrambled our calls and we could hear them, but they were one step ahead of us, except with the CBs.
Now, when you started arresting people, you weren't. They knew where. Did you know where Frank was? What
No,
car he
I-
was in?
No, I was up on the roof, of course, so I wouldn't know where Frank was at all. But we had an agent and a police officer following each one of them. At least that many were
Okay,
following
so
each one.
they stopped you in the car. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I seen this white van getting back at me, and I thought, well, this guy's right on my bumper. So I took a left into the strip mall and shopping center, and this van kept right on me, and I knew then it was over.
Yeah.
So I pulled over, and they jumped out, and they identified themselves and all of that, and read me my rights. And then they said, I heard them on the calls, yeah, we got, it's Joe Blasco in the van. And Joe Blasco used to be a Metro
Yeah,
cop.
he was a former police detective.
And he was working with us.
I see.
So they were like really aggravated, you know.
Yeah, well, I would imagine one
But
of
they
their
got
own.
him,
Yeah.
one of their own. And then we drove by the front of the store, and I could see my partners laying down.
Wow.
And then they said, we haven't got Larry Newman yet. And then the next thing you know, they got him.
Was he on the roof or was he
He
somewhere
was
else?
in another car. He was supposed to
Oh.
have Sal Ramano
I
with
see.
him.
And what happened to Sal Ramano during
He
all
snuck
this?
away.
He snuck away.
And that's when I knew everything was
Yeah.
bad.
Who was arrested this evening besides Frank? Do you remember?
Well, Leo Guardino and Ernie Davino and Wayne Matecki, and of course Larry Newman, Frank himself, and Joe Belasco.
When Tony found out about this, what happened? How did he handle it?
Well, I called him.
You did?
I
Yeah.
called him from the jail.
Uh-huh.
And I told him, you know, where I was. And of course, you can't talk on the phone. So I mentioned something about, you know, that I tried to talk in riddles. I said, well, he's not here. And I was referring to Sal Ramano. I said, something's got to be done in that situation immediately. So my ex-father-in-law, he was my father-in-law at the time, was at my restaurant, and Sal Ramano called the restaurant, and he said something to my father-in-law. My father-in-law said to him, how the hell did you get away? You know, and he told my ex-wife, this guy, he told his daughter, this guy's a rat. You know.
Right. Well, he's the only one out.
Yeah.